Prime Minister Narendra Modi will be on a high-profile European tour that blends diplomacy, technology, trade and global leadership, from bilateral talks with French President Emmanuel Macron and a historic first-ever visit by an Indian Prime Minister to Slovakia to participate in the G7 summit and Europe's biggest startup event. The visit is aimed at strengthening India's strategic footprint across Europe. India has been invited as a partner country by France, which holds the 2026 G7 presidency. This will be India's 13th participation at the G7 summit for that Prime Minister Narendra Modi is now heading to. A visit that could further cement India's strategic, economic and technological partnerships with key European players. As he mentions in a post on social media that the focus of the visit will be on boosting the economic and cultural linkages, the tour will begin in the French city of Nice, where the Prime Minister will hold bilateral talks with French President Emmanuel Macron. Defense cooperation, civil, nuclear energy, critical technologies, innovation and regional security are expected to dominate the discussions. A key highlight in Nice will be the launch of Bharat Innovates, a flagship event bringing together startups, innovators and venture capital leaders from India, France and beyond. From France, the Prime Minister will travel to Slovakia for a landmark visit. This will be the first time ever by an Indian Prime Minister to visit Slovakia since the country gained independence in 1993. Talks with Slovak Prime Minister Robert Fico and President Peter Pellegrini are expected on the lines of trade, investment, renewable energy, mobility, railways and defense manufacturing. The next stop is Evian in France, where the Prime Minister will participate in the G7 summit as an invited leader. This will be India's 13th participation in the G7 and Prime Minister Modi's 7th appearance at the summit. Leaders will discuss global growth, international partnerships, critical mineral supply, and the responsible rollout of artificial intelligence. The Prime Minister could also meet President Trump on the sidelines of the G7 summit. If the talks materialize, it would mark the first face-to-face meeting between the two leaders in more than a year. And for the latest, our Foreign Affairs Assistant Editor Sidhant Sabol has sent us this report from France.
The stage is set for the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi's visit to France. Now, his visit to France will not only focus on three cities, Nice, Evian, and also in Paris, but also on firming up in areas like innovation, in startup. There could be big ticket announcements. This is the 7th visit of the Indian Prime Minister, and there is the big bilateral component, but also the multilateral component, as at the G7 expect India to raise the voice of the global south, but also hold number of meetings, including an expected meeting with the US President Donald Trump, as trade tensions and killing of Indian sailors off the coast of Oman have been dominating the relationship, which is quite concerning. But all in all, the Indian Prime Minister not only focuses on his visit to France, but also Slovakia. This will be the first ever visit of an Indian Prime Minister to Slovakia since the country got independence. And the big message clearly is that India and Europe are further firming up and cementing relationship. Just weeks after Indian Prime Minister had visited Norway, Netherlands, Sweden and Italy. Sidhant Sabol for WION from France.